Welcome aboard ATPI On Air. On today's podcast, we will explore the intersection of seafarer lives and the maritime industry. Together, we'll steer through the business side of seafaring, understanding how crew well-being impacts industry success. But we're not just about business. We'll also delve into the personal side and discussing crew morale, mental well-being challenges, and how the industry is addressing these issues. Seafarers often face extended periods of isolation and absence from their families. What are the most significant challenges and mental health effects associated with these prolonged periods at sea? How important is it for crew to travel to work with as little stress as possible? And how might this impact their operational effectiveness in their duties? How do efforts to enhance seafarer well-being and travel experience affect recruitment, retention rates, and show appreciation to seafarers' contributions? My name is Jochem Hemmink, Head of Sales at ATPI, and my guests today are Nataraj Ajer, VP Business Travel at Qatar Airways, and Alan Croft, Business Development Manager at International Seafarers Welfare and Assistance Network. We are on air. First, let me start with a round of introductions. Alan, many thanks for coming this way today. What is your relationship to today's topic about seafarer well-being?
Okay, so as you mentioned, I'm the Business Development Manager at ICE1, International Seafarers Welfare Assistance Network. I've been in the maritime industry now for 7 years. I've been with ICE1 for the last year, but prior to that, I was in Port Agency. And that was a place where I developed a passion and an understanding for the welfare of seafarers, which led me into my current role at ICE1.
So very well connected to the maritime industry. Yeah. And for those who are not so familiar with ICE1, can you explain to our listeners briefly what ICE1 does?
ICE1 is a membership organisation. Our network is built up of merchants, crews, and logistic shipping companies globally, also ancillary service providers. Our main focus is to advocate and to look after the welfare of seafarers globally, and we provide helplines to do this. We also provide maritime mental health awareness training courses for ship management companies globally, and we do a lot of work in the Philippines and India going into maritime academies and educating on the importance of maritime mental health.
Thank you very much. Nataraj, obviously Qatar Airways itself doesn't need any further introduction. Everybody, I would assume, know who Qatar Airways is. But what is your relationship to shipping and seafarer well-being?
Thank you, Jochem. First of all, thank you for having us on the podcast. Thank you for having Qatar Airways on the podcast. It's such a pertinent topic, isn't it, that we're discussing today. My association with this industry really began when I started looking after this segment within Qatar Airways. So this is probably 10 years ago, roughly. Yeah. Right. And since then, it's been a journey. It's been a journey of learning, working closely with, partners such as yourselves in ATPI. And every day we learn, every day we get to understand the industry a lot better, what role we as an airline can play. And we look to improve. We look to make the journey of a seafarer, whether it's to the vessel or going back home, that much more comfortable. So we're in a constant state of learning and trying to assist and facilitate this industry.
Yeah, I take it that the maritime industry really matters for Qatar Airways.
Oh, it's critical. I think it always has mattered. Right from the time when we as an airline started building our network, I think given the network that we currently have and we operate to, it becomes a natural fit, but also it is a segment that we deeply care about and invest in heavily.
Can you paint something of the importance of shipping in?
There are about 1.9 million seafarers globally. Shipping represents, and when you look at international trade, more than 80% of the volume of international trade is facilitated through shipping. So, whilst airlines do play a part in transporting goods through cargo, shipping is a much bigger industry. And the sheer size of that, I think, is proof of the fact that, you need to pay attention to this industry. And what's more is that seafarers form the backbone pretty much, wouldn't you agree? And it's only right that there's focus on seafarers, and we pay a lot more attention to the topics that we're discussing today.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think, Alan, you would feel the same. I mean, it's a big community, the seafarer community. From your experience at ICE1, can you explain how seafarer well-being can impact the crew's operational effectiveness on board?
It plays a big impact, actually, plays a big part. Seafarer welfare is vital when it comes to morale on board, and good morale is linked to efficiency, productivity.
Yeah.
Morale is also plays a real vital role also in ensuring safety on board, regulatory compliance. So when a seafarer is moving from their home environment to the work environment, that transition from the very start is vital. A seafarer needs to arrive on board a vessel well rested and prepared for their handover with the off-signer.
Yeah, I think that you raise a really good point there, Alan, and we'll dive into that in a second. But what I'm also very interested in is seafarers on board a ship. Obviously, it's a confined space where you have multiple people, multiple cultures, even. Is creating a sense of supportive community around those seafarers. Is that of importance, and how would you facilitate cultural sensitivity and connections with home to help seafarers feel more at ease?
Okay, yeah, so community on board is huge.
Yeah.
Social interaction plays a massive part in remedying our feelings of anxiety and stress. And so the best way of doing that is communicating as much as we possibly can on board, sharing our issues and speaking freely with one another.
Yeah.
To feel comfortable on board and to feel welcome and a part of the environment. It can be nice to have a little taste of home as well, whether that be certain dishes that are aligned with the country in which you come from, someone speaking with your mother tongue. All these things can create a positive environment on board.
Yeah. Interesting to see that even some simple things like food or the ability to speak in your mother tongue can also play a part in the well-being of seafarers. This connects me back to you, Nataraj. So within Qatar Airways, do you see that as well? Is that of importance for you as an airline to support?
It's so true, right? First of all, I think, Alan, what you mentioned is very relevant. And it's so true, and airlines can play a role here because we might form a part of their journey in their entire life cycle of their mission where they spend a lot of time. But that sort of portion where they either leave home and they're traveling to join a vessel or they're going back home, as an airline, you can definitely play a part. And I'm proud to say that, we as an airline, we have huge diversity within staff members and crew, multinational, more than 160 nationalities.
Wow.
Very diverse, coming from different backgrounds. By virtue of the fact that we operate to more than 160 destinations worldwide.
Right.
And therefore, not just on the air, but also on the ground. Within our airports, we've got multinational crew, lots of diversity, and our food and beverage on board or on the ground is also tailored to the passenger mix that we carry. So a lot of attention is paid to it.
Yeah.
And chances are, given the diversity we've got, wherever our travelers are originating from, you will likely find someone with the same background or that speaks the same language, or will have access to familiar food that they relate to and are more comfortable with. And on the ground, I'd say we've gone one step further in the industry, wherein we opened a dedicated lounge exclusively for seafarers and offshore workers. And it's not something any other airline has done. and we opened the lounge during the pandemic in 2020. And what this lounge does is it gives all seafarers and offshore workers complimentary access to the lounge when they transit and are waiting to connect to their onward flight.
Yeah.
And the lounge provides facilities like shower, complimentary Wi-Fi, lots of seating space, and a curated, a tailor-made food and beverage menu that is palatable to their palate.
Beautiful. So, yeah, even you've taken it much further than just being able to maybe answer a few questions to a seafarer who's traveling to a destination they don't know. May feel a little worried about arrival and whether they need to fill out any forms, or that they can speak to a member of staff, likely in their mother tongue, but also with the lounge, the Mariner Lounge that you mentioned, you make it possible to relax better while in transit. Yeah, beautiful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this probably helps in some way reduce the stress and takes away some of the stress of just traveling. In the modern day and age, travel can be sometimes a stressful experience, and this hopefully in some way reduces that and takes away from it.
Yeah. All right, Ellen. With that said, and with that comfort that Qatar Airways can give to seafarers, I can imagine that to you this sounds like, okay, great. That's a great facility to help seafarers arrive well rested and fit for their job at the ship. And when we then take it to what happens on board the ship, what would you think are the main challenges and mental health effects associated with being out at sea for that long?
Yeah, so the most prominent issues and trends we get through the helplines and the data we receive, we recognise that it's isolation, in particular, loneliness, separation from your family.
Mm-hmm.
These things can lead to anxiety and stress.
Sure.
And that can have an adverse effect on an individual, which can then lead to having a knock-on effect for those around you and the culture on board. So this is why it's vital to be able to talk.
Yeah.
And that's why at Ice One we offer a service, Seafarer Help, which is 24/7.
Beautiful.
Multilingual.
Yeah.
Free of charge. And on those calls that we receive, the types of inquiries can be, where is the local seafarer centre, all the way up to, I'm feeling particularly unwell mentally and I need some support. And we're in a position to be able to help those seafarers and the families of those seafarers. So, it's important that companies raise as much awareness of these kind of services as possible. So the likes of ATPI and Qatar Airways with their lounge dedicated for seafarers, it's an exceptionally positive thing.
Yeah.
It's that transition from home to the vessel again. That space is time for one to reflect on how they're feeling.
Sure. Yeah.
And just the simple idea of creating an environment that can allow one to think and feel a little more freely, have the headspace and the time, not being rushed between various modes of transport.
Exactly.
Unnecessary layovers. It's these kind of things can cause stress and cause anxiety and leave nothing for the individual.
Yeah.
And so therefore, when you create an environment that is calm, and you have a service that runs fluid, that creates an opportunity for a seafarer to open up their minds, reflect on how they're feeling, and potentially even make use of the services Ice One has to offer, such as the Seafarer Help helpline, where they might reach out for some support should they require it.
Also within ATPI, we acknowledge very much that importance to travel at ease before joining the vessel, to make sure that those seafarers arrive well rested with that peace of mind when they start their assignment. So what we focus on within our operations is that we very much look at, okay, how can we offer the shortest and the quickest, the easiest to travel routes? What are practical travel times? Our agents consider, for example, our stopovers for this traveler during nighttime, or are they at the time that they would usually be awake, so that it is less disrupting when they have a stopover. Also, we look at how do we manage luggage. Seafarers often they are away for quite some time. They bring luggage for say 8-9 month assignment. They need like 40 kilos of luggage. So how can we help them not having to carry that across 2 different airports when they have 2 transits? That obviously makes the journey so much more stressful. So those are all important elements that help us as a travel company work with that well-being of a seafarer in mind. Other than that, do you have any view on that, Nataraj, from your end? Obviously, you mentioned something around the Mariner Lounge already, but what's your experience with that? Yeah.
Other than the things that we were mentioning before, and the areas that you mentioned right now, very relevant. I mean, a tailored fare product and access to additional or increased baggage allowance, all very important. There are probably other 2 factors worth mentioning. Fundamentally, as an airline, I think you need a good network and good schedules.
Most definitely.
I think you referred to it earlier. But more importantly, operating them reliably is equally important. I think that's the most important probably. You can have a good network and good schedules, but if you don't operate them reliably, it doesn't work and it causes disruptions. Any delays, disruption to your schedules or flights, invariably will cause stress to the traveler, let alone seafarer, any traveler. And in the shipping industry, that can have a significant effect if your seafarer doesn't turn up as scheduled, because then it impacts operations
Absolutely.
as well, downstream impact. The other part I'd say is, and we touched upon the lounge and the facilities at the airport, but equally I think a good product and service offering as an airline is important to make seafarers feel very comfortable. We're quite fortunate as an airline. We pride ourselves on our quality, and we're rated very highly for our product and quality, and we try and replicate that on the ground. So with the lounge combined with the airport experience, one terminal, good connections, we're hopefully able to make that journey a lot easier and less stressful.
Yeah. For us as ATPI, we see that this is really important as well. Also, what we see in some of the shipping businesses is that the class of travel can also be used as a way to retain or attract new or existing talent. So it can be used as a perk. So in some shipping sectors, we see, for example, that premium class travel is offered to certain crew levels. And for example, in the cruise industry, we often see that levels of captains and hotel directors are allowed to travel in business class. Which are benefits that can help a company retain the people that they have. As part of this, as within ATPI, we want to support our customers in this, and so we've developed a service concept that's called ATPI Crew Care, in which we really put the well-being of seafarers at the forefront. So the offering within that crew care is really focused on giving the best route options, having, for example, the possibility to arrange meet and greet services at an airport where connection may be short or difficult, so that we can support the seafarer when they are in this airport making this transit, so that we can take away as much stress as possible from the occasion. So I made this connection to retention and attraction of new talent. How do you see efforts to enhance seafarer well-being in that relationship. Do you think there is an opportunity for ship managers there?
Yes, I certainly do. I think it is crucial, really, for shipping companies to have seafarer welfare at the forefront of everything they do. Seafarer welfare is fundamental, when it comes to our industry. Without the seafarers' mental health being considered, you run the risk of poor performance and delays. It's from the human aspect first and foremost. We look after individuals, and that's what we do. This is what we should care about as human beings. And then, in addition to that, if it's going to improve the running of our business, then it's massively important. So I feel ship management companies are going to be spending a lot more time looking at ways of creating new opportunities for their seafarers, new benefits for them, because it's almost like a new currency now.
Right. Okay.
Seafarers are going to have their choice of companies to turn to, and those that are most proactive in their efforts are the ones that are going to reap the rewards, the benefits themselves, with good retention rates. Good recruitment.
And this is where ICE1 can really also play a role in, or can support ship managers in achieving these objectives, and subsequently help them solve the challenge of maintaining and recruiting the talents. Interesting.
I'd say, with our maritime mental health awareness training in particular, we have a number of loyal clients there that have come to us and invested in their maritime mental health awareness training. This is keeping their seafarers as informed and aware of how to best look after themselves and those around them. And those companies are flourishing as a result.
Sure. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, thank you very much. Nataraj, what other ways do you see for Qatar Airways to engage in the maritime community to ensure you remain up to speed with what happens in the industry, and how that can have a positive effect on the topic of today for seafarer well-being?
I think firstly, we engage very heavily with partners such as yourselves, ATPI, and we learn a lot, and we are kept up to date quite a bit because you're closer to the industry, and through sharing of those updates, or whether there is knowledge being shared, we try and sort of keep up to date with what we need to do as an airline to be able to cater to the needs of the traveler or the seafarer traveling with us. But equally, we also participate in industry events that are focused around travel or seafarers or the maritime community in general. So that could be, for example, the Crew Connect Global or other industry events that take place around the world. So we do participate. We do try to understand what's changing and how the industry is evolving. And internally, we take that away and try to see how we can take that information and act on it and try and make the experience better for our travelers.
Yeah, I agree. It's very much staying in contact with that industry and listening what the needs are of the industry. I think that's really important. For a similar reason, ATPI have joined ICE1 earlier this year, Alan. So we're very happy to be part of your community as well now. So that gives us further insight and learning about the topic of seafarer well-being and understanding how we, as a travel business, can make an impact in that. And we're all very excited about that. Maybe to sum this conversation up, do you have any future thoughts on seafarer well-being?
Yeah, I think there's an opportunity for all the invested stakeholders to consider seafarer welfare more. And as we've said already about the competitive aspect of retention and recruitment, it needs to be the first and foremost thing that ship management companies are thinking about.
Sure.
And I feel now with more awareness when it comes to the general public,
Sure.
they understand what the role of a seafarer is now as a result of the pandemic.
Yeah.
The issue with Evergrate, the spotlight was on seafarer welfare. And that's handy, really, when the general public is considering the welfare of seafarers. It's indirectly putting the pressure on those companies that perhaps didn't have it at the forefront of their minds to now wake up and recognise that actually we need to show the seafarer the respect that they deserve.
Sure.
And so I think what we're going to see is a culture growing and growing, where it's just a knock-on effect that in order to be a successful shipping company, you have to follow suit and prioritise the welfare of seafarers.
Yeah, yeah. Well said. Thank you, Alan. Yeah. Anything you wanted to add on that, Nataraj?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what Alan said is so true. But I think also the crisis has sort of brought to light the topic of seafarer well-being and brought it to prominence. I think that in itself, it is a good step forward. I think it's important for all players within the ecosystem to come together, collaborate. I think that will result in improvements to all the efforts that we are currently investing in. So I think it's just a constant process of being engaged and being collaborative with the entire ecosystem amongst all players. I think that's the only way in which we will be able to progress and move forward.
Yeah. Thank you very much. All right. Well, thank you very much, Nataraj. It was great to have you here. And Alan, thank you very much as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Joachim. Thank you for having us.
Great.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.